Fairly recently, I finished playing Horizon Zero Dawn and I enjoyed it a lot. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that it might be my favorite game I've ever played. While I was playing it on Twitch, a few people in my chat pointed out that Aloy and I have the same type and it would be cool if I cosplayed her. Now, I've been wanting to start making my own cosplays for a while. I've made bits and pieces here and there, but never a full look entirely from scratch. So I thought, why not? First of all, let me point out that to an unknowing eye, Aloy Brave armor looked very simple and doable. That is until I took a closer look and realized what I have just signed up for. At the time of the release of this video, I am still working on this cosplay, although admittedly, I only put a few hours a week into it, so the progress could be faster. So, after spending a few hours staring at the thankfully very detailed renders of Aloy's outfit, I decided to make a trip to downtown LA, more specifically the fashion district. It is famous for its abundance of fabrics and finishes and a gazillion shops crammed into a couple of blocks. Allegedly, the fabrics here run cheaper than what you would get for them online, although I have a strong suspicion that to get the famed low prices, one has to haggle, which I dislike doing. On the upside, after walking around for a few hours and checking out so many shops my head started spinning, I did find every fabric I needed. Here I should say that I did not know exactly which kind of fabric or how much of each fabric was necessary, so I eyeballed it. So far I made it work. But I would be more comfortable if I had gotten a little bit more of the light blue velvety stuff because I had to get creative cutting it up for a skirt to make it last. But we will get to the skirt in a later video. Let's just summarize it by saying that I know little about fabric and I basically picked stuff based on whether it looked right rather than knowing what exactly I was buying. Overall, I purchased 9 different fabrics, mostly 1 or 2 yards of each. I later had to order a jersey knit cotton and coffee brown online simply because I realized that a stretchy fabric would be easier to make an undershirt out of to make it fit my body better. The harder part was finding all kinds of cords and strings, of which there seemed to be an endless variety in Aloy's costume. And even though the fashion district had a bazillion options, finding the exact match was really hard. Here I'm gonna note that I totally got ripped off on the red suede cord that I ended up using for the skirt. It was sold to me at 80 cents a yard. I needed a lot of yards, so it added up to a considerable amount. When later I became concerned that I will run out of it before I finished, I searched for similar cords on Amazon and found that entire 100-yard rolls of a cord like that run about $12. I did end up having to order most cords and strings online because I did not find most of what I needed in stores. 4 hours, 10 fabrics, 5 cords, and about $200 later, I think I have most of the stuff I need for the Aloy cosplay from Horizon Zero Dawn. It is a lot more intricate than it looks like at first sight. I've spent these past 4 hours with Vans from Uncanny Scouters in downtown LA in the fabric district, fashion district. There's a lot of little stores and a lot of fabrics. It actually becomes overwhelming after about an hour. So this was a challenge, but I think I got at least all the fabrics I need. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make the braces, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to make the beads. Either make them myself from the clay or buy the beads and paint them. I'm also not sure if I'm gonna do the stitching or if I'm gonna do puff paint, in which case I also have to buy puff paint or proper wet thread. But the base is there, the fabric is there. So just to show you, here's some fur for the fur details. Here's the linens for the shirt. There's all kinds of different cords I got. Here's the little silky guy for her scarf. Here's this fake leather situation for the pleats and the skirt. Fabrics here. There's the pleather for some leather details. Here's more red linen for some linen details. The blue velvety guy, the red velvety guy, and the lighter blue other kinds of velvety guy. I have no idea what these fabrics are called because I am a baby cosplayer. I still don't know what I'm doing. But this is the stuff I got. All in all, if you have the time and the stamina, Fashion District is actually quite fun to visit because there are a lot of clothing stores and accessory stores that are quite a bit cheaper than your general mall shops. With the fabric district specifically, it is a little bit insane because, I don't know, I feel like any kind of fabric you can think of in any kind of color, it's there, but there's so many of them that finding them is complicated sometimes. We went to at least 20 stores today while looking for the correct colors, and took quite a bit of time, and it's also really hot. But we both got what we needed, kind of. I considered briefly creating the patterns for the costume myself, but quickly decided against it. Since this is my first full cosplay from scratch, I figured it would be wiser to buy patterns from someone who at least already knew what they were doing. So I found Aloy pattern pack on Etsy for $11 and happily purchased and printed it out. I spent one afternoon cutting the pattern pieces out and piecing them together, and then it was time to start making the costume. I chose to start with the undershirt, of which only the sleeves and the midriff are visible in the final look, for one simple reason. If I mess it up, I'd mostly be able to hide that. I copied the center linen pieces over to another sheet of paper to make it easier to cut them out, since there was no separate pattern piece for them, and got to work. The first issue I encountered was that the linen fabric I chose to use for it was fraying like there was no tomorrow. I tried using the trick that works well on organza and some laces and applying heat to the edges, but it only partially helped since the fabric was less synthetic and so the fibers did not quite melt together like I'd like them to. I ended up later applying clear nail polish to the edge to fix the fibers in place and stop them from fraying further. I also later reinforced the edges with my faux embroidery puff paint. Puff paint also helped me to cover and conceal the machine stitches after I'd put the pieces together. I've decided to go with puff paint for the faux embroidery simply because doing it for real would take 5 times the time and effort. And to be honest, I do like the neatness of the puff paint. The base shirt itself I made during a live stream on Twitch. We got this nice pretty safety pin mock-up situation. We're gonna throw it on and see how much tighter it needs to be. Probably quite a bit tighter. Hey, it's the shirt. So, you know, I could take it in like another half-see of an inch. But look at it, it's a shirt! Even though the pattern didn't call for it, I cut out extra neckline pieces and attached them to front and back before doing anything else to create a neat neckline. Check out this absolutely unnecessarily gorgeous neckline. Is this not the most gorgeous neckline you've ever seen? Look at this beautiful straight stitch. Much as before, I eyeballed the placement of the decorations on the front and the back of the shirt and used safety pins to fix them in place before I stitched them on with the sewing machine. After the decorations had been attached to my satisfaction, I went ahead and attached the front and the back at the shoulder. Put in both sleeves. After that, I hemmed the sleeves and only then closed up the sides of the shirt. After that, I trimmed excess hem allowance and hemmed the bottom of the shirt. The order of actions is important in case you're new to sewing. Put the sleeves in before closing up the sides of the shirt. It is a lot easier. So, I took the sleeve. It's funny shaped. It's a funny shape. And I pinned it, again, face to face onto my shirt. I don't know if this makes any sense by the way it looks to you right now, but once I saw it on, it should make sense. I think we did it! I think we have a sleeve! It is actually not that bad at all. So now if I close it right here, look at that. We've pinned the second sleeve on. So that's the finished edge on the sleeve. As you can see, it's folded twice, so it's nice and finished both on the inside and on the outside. So now we're doing the same to the other one. So now I'm going to make sure everything aligns properly. I think it is aligning properly. So I'm going to go in very slowly and carefully and cut off this excess fabric. And now we have a nice and pretty trimmed edge. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I am just about finishing up the first piece of my cosplay. We're going to give it one last fit to make sure that it fits. Tis the shirt, tis the fit. It fits pretty snugly, I don't know if you can tell. Now, picture the rest of the Aloy cosplay. We're gonna have a leather little top shirt, like down to here. And then a skirt with the belt starting around here. So all you're gonna see is really this midriff part of it, and then a bit of a sleeve, because we're also gonna have a little sleeve flap on the leather shirt. This is what we did today. This little bit. And then you can see tiny bit of a sleeve. So this is what we did today. And as you see, there's like the zigzag pattern, which I'm going to apply. Which I'm going to apply with this puff paint. Before I applied the puff paint directly to the shirt, I tested it on a scrap of fabric to make sure that it looks close to what I need. And it did, so I went ahead and painted the shirt. Puff paint has to dry for 24 to 48 hours on each side, so make sure you allow that drying time before flipping it over and doing the other side. And with this, the undershirt was done. In the next video, I will go through the process of making the overshirt.